Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Dear viewers, welcome to our first episode of 2024 officially. It is the holiday season, so there's a lot that has been going on in this holiday season, and like always, we have something to say about it, and this is our episode on New Year, New Me. So before we get started, and I introduce my guests, I just want to get the formalities out of the way. Like always, if you're watching on YouTube and you have not yet subscribed, please make sure that you subscribe and hit the bell icon at Mic'd Up 416 on YouTube, as well as follow us on Instagram at Mic'd Up 416. Like, comment, and share our videos, the short clips that we've been posting since we started season 3. Be greatly appreciated. And then, like always, that we're here in season 3 at Haramain TV Studios. So a huge shout out to Haramain TV. If you're not following them on Facebook, you're missing out on some great Islamic content brought to you by Haramain TV. So on Facebook, Haramain TV, they're on all IPTV boxes, or almost all of them. So please make sure that your IPTV is connected with Haramain TV. And then on YouTube as well, Haramain TV, and on Instagram at haramain.tv. So please make sure that you are following all channels for Haramain TV as well as Mic'd Up. So formalities out of the way, and we are now officially in 2024, and it's been an interesting holiday season here in Toronto, Canada. We thought because every new year in the Georgian calendar, there is a resolution that is being set by majority of the people and the masses, and we thought it was quite interesting. We have our take on it, so we wanted to talk about it and bring it to you, and we hope you find it interesting as well. And back again with me here in the studios are the Twin Towers, the brothers, the great Hafiz of Toronto, Canada, Hafiz Yahya and Hafiz Bilal. Welcome back again. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Thank you very much for coming back on the podcast. It's the last one was a very interesting conversation, and a lot of people enjoyed it. And I think you guys spoke very intelligently and with a lot of intellect, and people enjoyed it. And I thought, we'll change the flavor up a little bit, bring you guys back to kind of talk about New Year, New Me. And I know you guys have a lot to say about it, so we'll jump right into it. New Year's resolution. We're now officially into 2024. We hear this term going around all the time. What's your guys' take on New Year's resolution? Oh, this year is going to be, a better me. And, we hear all these memes and stuff like that. So I just want to start there, and we'll get warmed up, because I do want to touch base on Christmas and stuff like that, and setting up a tree and believing in a fat white guy coming down a chimney eating cookies. Wild cookies got that. Anyways, I'll turn it over to you guys. And we'll start there, and then we'll see where the conversation goes.
New Year's resolution. I think that's a conspiracy theory too.
It's complete and utter everything BS.
Is. Just going back to the last episode, but it's a marketing tactic, if anything, right? And the reason why I say this is because here's the thing. During the holiday seasons, especially for those that actually celebrate the holiday season, they get together, they eat, they drink, they do all that stuff. They put on all that weight, right? So the perfect time to lose weight, because it's the start of a new year, right, is to hit the gym, to start getting in shape again, right? So what do these gym and healthcare, the industry, they come up with this tactic, hey, let that be a part of your New Year's resolution. Right? Or your New Year's resolution. Now the banks and everyone are taking this concept too. Oh, you can save up to buy a new house, or get a new mortgage for you, or move into a new house. So it's a marketing tactic from what I see, right? Because here's the thing. You don't have to wait for 365 days to make a resolution.
Right.
We're not that slow, right? If we want to change, we can be the change, whether it's in the moment or the day after, but we don't have to wait 365 days or a year for a change to happen, right? And if you look at it, at the end of the day, the people that are actually doing this, following this, are, I'm going to go back to what I said in the last episode, are being puppeted, right, by the puppeteer. And the people that benefit from this are the people that are selling a product or a service to it, Right. And like I said, if your goal was to, shed a few pounds or get back up in shape, hit the gym today.
Right.
Why do you have to wait for January 1st? Right? There's no difference.
Right.
The quicker you get to it, the better it'll be.
Yeah. I agree. Hafiz, Bilal.
I think it's an idea to keep the masses and the laymen at a level of mediocrity, keeping them average.
Interesting.
Don't let them be above average. Because how many times have we heard someone say, I have this New Year's resolution, I have this New Year's resolution, I'm on this new year, new me, but it's complete and utter BS. Right? How many times it's fallen through. You've seen them, hey, maybe they did it for a day or a week, but then right after that, it's back to normal and we'll see them again next year.
Yeah.
Right?
Gyms have the highest
turnover rate.
Well, they have the highest new membership in the month of January.
Mm-hmm.
You know which month has the most cancellations?
February. Yeah.
February, right? And that's just, but the whole concept of, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but the whole concept of using January 1st or the new year to change who you are. What is stopping you, to Hafiz Yahya's point, what is stopping you from doing it now? And why do we wait till January 1st to be a better person or to be better in yourself or so on and so forth, meaning New Year's resolution and so on and so forth?
One simple answer, we're lazy, right? If you want to see change, you have to see it in yourself, right? You're not ready to bring about that change, you're not going to see that change, right? The reason it never works is because we're too lazy to get it started. And once we've got it started, we're too lazy to keep it up.
So what are we lazy doing? Like, why are we lazy? Because I want to touch, I know in the last episode that we had together, we wanted to add a little bit more of the Islamic flavor and stuff. So I want to try to add that to now. So let's talk about Muslims in general, because majority of our, whether it be friends or colleagues or acquaintances or family and friends, predominantly are Muslim. But we often see them, even Muslims, who are buying into this New Year's resolution, the Christmas time, the holiday season, playing parts in it, which I'm going to touch base on. Why do Muslims feel the need to be so influenced by the West to take part in things like this, New Year's resolution and all of that?
Well, it goes back to what I said in the previous episode, is that we don't know our identities. Yeah. We don't know what we stand for, what we believe in, as much as we want to say. But we say in Urdu, we say Naam ke Musalman, like we're Muslim by name, but we don't understand what it truly means to be a Muslim. You don't know your own your faith, your morals, and your values. Right. If you knew them and you knew what they stuck up for, you'd understand that participating in a lot of these things is not allowed. We're tolerant of it, of course, right? But we don't have to participate. But the problem now is because we live in a society where it's like, I want to be accepted by everyone. So I kind of have to, let my views or, kind of be someone that is viewed as acceptable by every single person, because usually Muslims are the one that's always being criticized, that right. you guys are not tolerant or whatever. Muslims are very, very tolerant people, but that does not mean you have to go and now start celebrating and actually taking part in these events, right? So that's the whole thing. I said, why? Okay, if you're a Muslim, why don't you start your New Year's resolution Muharram first, right?
Yeah. If people don't know, Muharram is the first month of the Islamic calendar. Let's put that out there. That's what he was saying.
This doesn't occur at the same time as January either.
It doesn't at all. But yes. But I like that. But see, okay, so Hafiz Bilal, I guess anyone can jump in actually, but what is the disconnect? I just find that there's a disconnect between you and your creator and you and your deen, and that, to your point, you don't follow it. You don't know it. You don't know your identity, and that you're using the West to fit in. So Hafiz Yahya said that they are lost in that matter, and they want to fit into society, and they want to please other people. How about pleasing your creator? Why is that completely gone from the minds of Muslims today?
So to simply put it, is that the root of the issue comes down to a spiritual aspect, right? Like you mentioned, they've prioritized doing, normalizing themselves in everyday society in this dunya, but they've forgotten how they are and their priorities to their creator, right? And a big reason of this is balance, right? they've reset their priorities and they've given more priority to this dunya. Hey, how do I fit in? Like Hafiz was saying, how do I get around without people like noticing me, or how am I able to be freely accepted in this area? For example, Mother's Day and Father's Day in Islam, every day is supposed to be
100%.
Mother's Day and Father's Day,
100%.
but you have Muslims that now have prioritized or now secluded those days as specifically for Mother's Day and Father's Day. The same way now you have that trend where they've specifically kept changes to only be made on January 1st for the new year, new me. Right? They've lost that sort of balance between their responsibilities to their dunya and their responsibilities to their deen.
I'll be honest with you, because you said it. If anybody is celebrating Mother's Day and that's the first day that you did something for your mother in the month of May or June for your father, you should be ashamed of yourself because of what you just said. Every day is Mother's Day and every day is Father's Day. If you have to resort to that day made up by Hallmark so you can buy your mom something or take her out for dinner or buy your dad something or take him out for dinner or do something with the family and use that day to say, okay, we're going to go out, you should be ashamed of yourself because every day is Mother's Day and Father's Day. But anyways, I like what you were saying, Hafiz Yahya. You want to jump in?
I'll tell you, the thing is, it's negligence. Right? You take, for example, a kid that grows up in this part of the world, 8 hours a day, he's at school, right? He comes home, he does his homework, We're lucky if he goes to madrasa or whatever, but majority of them don't. So for 8 hours a day, he's learning about all the different things in the secular world. Right. And that's great. Right. That's good for him. But the problem is, subconsciously, his God now becomes secularism. His God is no longer Allah in that sense.
Right.
His God is secularism. He's going to follow what secularism teaches him. Right? And so that's the thing. It's that disconnect. You don't have Allah in your life, in your heart, in your mind, and you don't know enough about it. And that's you have that identity crisis, and you only go with what you know. Right. So when you're going with what you know, you're following that. It's a religion in and of itself, and you're following that, and that's what causes you to kind of follow all these different things like New Year's resolution or celebrating the holiday season and this, that, and the other, right? So that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. It's the negligence and the lack of the education, right? Because you can't expect that lamp, that spiritual connection to be lit if you don't have any knowledge of it, if you don't understand it, and how are you going to find your creator without knowing him? Right? How do you know him? You learn, right? But that's the thing. We learn about everything else, but
not that.
Exactly.
But who's to blame?
Multiple people.
Right.
One is the individual, but the individual doesn't get all the blame. It's the parents as well. It's the ecosystem that you're fostered in, right? So I usually say this. I said, our nature has been completely nurtured into something different, right? Because remember, we used to have this conversation, high school nature versus nurture,
of course,
right? Yeah. But we as humans believe that all humans are born upon true nature, right? It's how they are nurtured, right? And it's the system that they're brought up in. Right. So as parents, as guardians that look after children, whether it's the biological parents or the guardians, or whether it's the teachers that are teaching them, you're at the end of the day also equally responsible for instilling in them those values.
Right. And I find that parents, because you touched on it, the parents have now also been very heavily influenced in the West, coming from a majority, the ones that we can speak to is from the subcontinent, and they come here and they don't have the luxury of the things that they're accustomed to here in the West. What happens is that they also want to fit in. They also want to do the things. They want their kids to fit in school and so on and so forth. And then that just karboshes everything. And then they become 20, 21 years old, 22. They're out of the hands of the parents and they can't be controlled. Now the parents come to the the masjid, and they say, now, Maulana Saab, Imam Saab, or whoever, please help. My kids won't listen to me. Parents need to understand, and this is my message to the parents. I'm looking into the camera and I'm going to talk to the parents that are going to be watching. You need to wake up. When you throw water in your face, you need to wake up and understand. From the last episode and from now, is understand that we do not live to please the creation. We live to please the creator. And that's what people don't understand. Like, you have to answer for your actions. But you also need to do your part because you will be questioned for every action that you do. And to your point, Hafiz up, look, you guys went to madrasa and jamia. You guys did all of that. Your parents put you through there. You went to university. Alhamdulillah, you've been successful in that. Your parents understood, right? And I know your parents personally, that's why I can talk to it. But your parents understood what I need to do for my kids. And that's how people need to realize. Our parents did the exact same thing. But people need to wake up. Stop trying to please these people, the creation, and you need to please the creator. Hafiz Bilal.
No, that entire concept is generational.
Yeah.
Right? Those people that moved to this country, or even let's say they were born in this country, in the household that they were raised, there was no influence of Islam in their lives, right? They were engrossed in the society that they lived in, the secular aspect, and that's all they knew and they did, like Hafiz was saying. Their kids, right? And we see this because we've seen it firsthand. We deal with it firsthand every day. They come to our madrasa, right? Oh, Imam Sahab, Hafiz Sahab, they're not listening, like you were saying, right? It's generational. Then you look at the parents. The kids, when you're talking to them, you're dealing with them in the class, you know how they are. They're rebellious, they don't listen, they lack discipline, right? And that's a big thing. They lack discipline. Then you look at the parents, right? Mother doesn't wear hijab. Our mother wears her hijab, but she doesn't practice her deen, right? Father doesn't know anything about deen, right? The mother's pushing for the kids to come to the madrasa. Father's ignorant of it, or vice versa, right? And you have this sort of, it's generational. That's what I'm trying to say, is that what you do now is affecting not just you, but also your future, right? The kids that you have and the choices later down on the line. And now another thing that I wanted to touch on was tomorrow. The concept of we do these New Year resolutions, but we never go through with them because we're always going to say, hey, I'm going to do it tomorrow. Hey, I'm going to do it next year. Let's wait till next year to start this, right? But we as Muslims know that tomorrow is never guaranteed.
Of course. And
we've forgotten that. And to touch back to your point, accountability. What we do today or what we do in this life, we're accountable in the next life,
of course,
right? So relying on that false concept of, hey, tomorrow's going to come, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to do it tomorrow, you've forgotten tomorrow's not guaranteed. What you're only guaranteed is the now.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think that's the biggest disconnect is we're going to live here forever. And yeah, we'll get to it when we get to it, and so on and so forth. And I think that goes against obviously what Islam stands for, because you have to cherish each moment, and actually live your moment, each moment of the day, as if that you're not going to see it back again, right? And you're not gonna be able to change the past after it's done. Now we're obviously coming out of, kids are on school break, and they're going to be returning back. It's called Christmas break, so on and so forth. And what we see now is that this custom of, I think it's disgusting, and we've seen it for many, many years now, is that I'm not Christian, but I want to put up a tree. But instead of the star on the top, I'm going to put a moon, or, it doesn't make sense. But we're seeing Muslims adopting, that's what we're seeing in this season right now, is that Muslims are adopting this customs of jolly old Saint Nick, who, by the way, jolly old Saint Nick was a pedophile. So read about it. Fact check me. You can read. We're not going to get into Santa Claus. But why do we see this? Muslims are now adopting. First of all, is it okay to put up a tree and some lights and hang some ornaments off the tree, decorate our houses to fit in? Is it allowed? First. Second, why or why not? And then third, what should Muslims do in result of it? Or in opposing it?
Well, first off, I'll touch on the is it allowed and why or why not. Yeah. I'll leave the second part of the question to Hafiz. It's not allowed, right? The reason being is what you're doing is now you're creating a very slippery slope, right? You started with saying, hey, let me put a tree inside the house, right? Let me light it up. Let me put up the decorations, right? Your next step was saying, hey, I'm not going to put the star. I'm just going to put the crescent, right? What's the next step going to be? I'm going to put presents under the tree. I'm just going to give. I'm just giving hadiyah. I'm just giving gifts to my family, my brothers, my sisters.
Trying to find a loophole.
Right. You're just saying, you're making up excuses. If you have to make an excuse to do something,
wrong.
Right off the bat, you should know it's wrong.
Yeah.
Right? If you have to excuse in your mind, hey, I'm doing this for a specific reason. But like I was saying, you're getting the presents. What are you going to do next? You're going to leave cookies and milk on the table. Right? Next thing you know, you're going to have the Santa little socks on the fireplace waiting for him to come down. You're going to tell your kids. Right? What you've started now is you've started believing something that's outside of the religion.
Right.
And all you're doing along the way is you're justifying the means.
Right.
And it's not allowed.
Correct me if I'm wrong. That if you do the custom to the people who are not from Islam, that you become a part of them.
Of course.
Right?
You are a mirror of what you do and with the people that are around you.
Right.
So if you are starting to now celebrate these customs, which have no base or origin, and they're not used for religious reasons anyways nowadays, they're used for marketing reasons. I said the churches or anyone don't benefit from Christmas. It's the stores that do.
Right.
Because they sell the presents.
Yeah.
They make the profit. They have all these sales.
Right.
So at the end of the day, you're just happily giving up money just to, feel happy? The reason why you want to feel happy or this makes you feel happy is because you don't have it in your life. And a celebration of a certain day or time is not going to make you feel happy. If you have found yourself and you have a connection with your creator, you'll be happy all the time.
Right.
Right? Now, here's the other thing. You lack the education. I'm going to say something that's going to ruffle a lot of feathers here. A lot of you people that are Muslim and doing this, you're actually invalidating your faith to a whole other level. You're completely invalidating it. Fine, I won't even go completely. I'll say you're living your life a major sin.
Right.
Everything you do, every step you take, every breath that you breathe, it's in sin. The reason why I say that is because Allah says, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. That we didn't create mankind and jinn except to worship Allah.
Yep.
That was it. Right? So, utna, betna, khana, pina, all that stuff doesn't fall under.
Yeah.
The only time it can fall under is if you did it the way your Prophet ﷺ did it. So, now here's the thing. I said, if the secularism becomes your khuda, you're going to follow what it says and what it teaches.
100%.
Right? You don't know your identity. You might know I am Muslim, but you don't know why you're Muslim. You don't know what you practice, what you believe. So now you're going to say, okay, it's okay. Like Hafiz Bilal said, you're justifying things. You're making excuses for things. That's the first error you're doing there. But now because of that, and because you don't know your own creator, you don't know what your own commandments are, right? You're not falling trap.
Yeah.
Why don't you ask yourself this question? Why is it our religion is the only one that's doing this? Why aren't other religions doing the same thing? Why aren't they putting up trees? Even if they see no harm in it, why aren't they putting up the trees or doing the presents? Okay? But here's the other thing, and this is the hypocrisy of our own people. How come on Eid you don't give gifts to your neighbors? How come on Eid you don't cook a meal and you don't share with your neighbors?
Only on Christmas.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right?
Or Thanksgiving.
Right? Why do you have to use holidays or days that, first of all, don't even belong to you or your identity, just to be a good person or a good human being?
Right.
Right? Is that what your society and stuff tells you? You only need to be good, or you need to be kind to your neighbors once a day or one time of the year?
Yeah.
Right? That's not what it tells you. If the history of Islam, the accountability for the Khulafa Rashidun, they wouldn't go to sleep if someone was hungry. Right? Well, if you're, as a Muslim, if your neighbor is hungry or if he's sad, we're accountable for that. Yep. So where's all that stuff? You want to go put up that tree. Before you go to put up that tree, hold yourself accountable and say, first of all, am I following the religion? Secondly, have I fulfilled my rights as a Muslim? Right. And if you can say yes to all of them, I don't think you'll go put up that tree.
But here's the thing, though. So once we start talking like this, we're talking on a level now, and people, should understand that we want what's best for people, and that's why we're voicing our opinion according to Quran and Sunnah, because ultimately we're held accountable too for what we say. Whether you think it or not, whether you think it or not, that everything that we're saying here is going to be, obviously, we're going to be held accountable for it. We have to come to explain ourselves if we're saying what's wrong. Well, you know what we find though is now there's this saying. Right? Along with the New Year's resolutions and such, there's this saying that only God can judge me and that we can't, you guys can't say anything to us on this and that. Like what's our take on this? Only God can judge me. Leave me out of it. Where does it say in the Quran that I can't put up a tree?
Can I answer
Yeah,
this
yeah, yeah.
very,
Go,
very
go.
simply, and you
Shoot.
guys can expand it as much you want.
Shoot.
You know, I'm going to quote Shaykh al-Islam here.
Mm.
Sayyid Muhammad Manimiyah.
Yeah, let's
He
make sure we
said-
get that one right.
He said, this might hurt some people, but it's a very true fact, and if you understand this, you might understand the entirety of this conversation, is that some people say, like you just said, only God can judge me, that you shouldn't call a kafir, right? He says this, right? And it's just haqiqat. I'm not saying I'm not calling people kafir, I'm not doing this, I'm just saying what he's trying to explain here.
Yeah.
He said, by that same logic, and by that definition that you just gave, you can't call yourself a Muslim.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you understand the bearing and the value of what you just said, you shouldn't call a kafir. You shouldn't call haqiqat what haqiqat is. You shouldn't call truth what truth is. Then how can I say the same for you being a Muslim?
Yeah.
Now I have to apply that same logic and that same standard to you. Then you shouldn't call yourself a Muslim as well.
Right.
So by saying only God can judge me, or that you don't know what's in a person's heart, right? Then you can't say a person who's a Muslim and they died, you can't say they died on Iman.
Yeah.
And then if you see a kafir pass away, then you can't say they died being a kafir,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They're going completely against haqiqat, and that's a logical fallacy there.
Now I'm gonna call Ghazi Millat. Okay. First of all,
Ahmad ya Shafi'a
yeah.
Zindabad.
it's the sunnah of Allah to call someone that doesn't believe a disbeliever.
Of course.
It is. He is the one who said it. Read Surah Kafirun. I'm not
Yeah,
giving
yeah,
you a big surah to read. Surah Kafirun will give you the simplest
Yeah.
and the easiest. And I'll give you your answer to this too.
Yeah.
Because they had a proposition. They came to the Prophet ﷺ, right? Oh, we'll worship Islam for 1 year. You worship our thing for another year. And we'll switch back and forth.
Yeah.
And Allah said no. Right? You remain steadfast upon what I have prescribed. They can do whatever they want,
Right.
but don't sell yourselves, basically. That's the moral of the story.
Right.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't have to give you specifics for everything, because if he did that, the Quran would be pages and miles long.
Right.
And no one would be able to read it properly, right? He gave the general principle, right? And that's what he's saying in that surah. I'm paraphrasing and I'm very high level summary, but that's what he's saying. Don't sell yourself. Don't, just fold to it. You can be tolerant of another religion, another faith, another belief, but doesn't mean you have to give into it.
Right.
And that's what you're doing. You're giving into it and you're not realizing that.
Right.
Right? And it also comes back to this whole Western view of liberalism.
Right.
And again, that saying comes from that only God can judge me too. Right? Okay. If your statement, only God can judge me, is true, then every person inside a prison needs to be free at this moment. Because they have been judged.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're telling me that it's okay if you commit a crime and to be judged and to be prosecuted against the law, right? But if someone else does something that doesn't invalidate the law, we can't judge them. Brother, I'm not here to pass a judgment whether you're going to heaven or hell. That's not in my capabilities. That's not something. But as your fellow Muslim brother or sister, it is your job to advise someone, right? That, hey, and you don't advise them in public, like you don't blast them in public. There's a time and place and a way to do it. But if we don't give each other advice, we have to be a feedback system for each other. If you see me doing something wrong, if I see you doing something wrong, then we have to hold each other accountable.
Right.
Otherwise, how are we going to ensure that the religious law and the teachings and all that stuff is going to be followed?
100%.
Right? Yes, the two angels are writing and will be held accountable on the day of judgment. But how do we ensure the integrity of our religion is going to be followed?
100%. And if people understood, the concept of how Islam came to us, mass transmission from the Quran and then the prophetic way and so on and so forth of the Prophet ﷺ, that's what he did. When you did something against the law of Allah, or you did something out of the folds of the prophetic way, he told you about it. You didn't see Sayyidina Abu Bakr, for example, he never did anything. I'm just using this as an example so people understand. If there was a companion who was close to the Prophet ﷺ, he did something, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ didn't say, God's going to judge you. He told them. He goes, well, what you're doing is wrong. And so the whole point is we learn from the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ that when you do something in public, because you know what's happening, right? They're putting up Christmas lights on Instagram and you're making a story out of it. That's not public. Your whatever you want to call it, your sin or your being a hypocrite or your hypocrisy is now being displayed on social media. I can see it. It's not private anymore. It's public. So yeah, I'm going to call you out because your sin now is going to affect the minds of everybody else who's going to view this post or this story or this reel or so on and so forth. So I have a right now to judge you because you're putting it out there in public. If you're doing it in private, then I agree with what Hafiz Yahya just said. Yeah, I'm not telling you you're going to heaven or hell, but I'm going to advise you. Hey man, I saw your thing. Listen, chill out. Everybody shouldn't take offense to it. This is the custom of how Islam came to us by the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
And you're judging not the person, but the deed they're doing.
Yeah, the act.
Right?
100%.
And to tie back into that only God can judge me, and that how it stems from that movement of liberalism. What the idea that's wrong with liberalism in most of its aspects is the fact that they've made moral judgment or moral criteria subjective rather than objective. Right? Everyone has their own personal twist on it. It can be defined however anyone wants. Right? And that whole thing about saying that putting up that Christmas tree is wrong, the truth hurts. But who does it hurt? The truth hurts the guilty.
Yeah.
Right? You only find a problem when someone's speaking the truth when it goes against what you're doing. Right? If we're sat together, none of us believe in putting up Christmas trees, and we know someone says putting up Christmas trees is wrong, we agree. It doesn't affect us because we know doing it is wrong. But if the fourth person sitting at this table says or gets offended, he's like, hey, you can't do that. You can't say it's wrong. There's a reason because they're guilty of doing it.
Yeah, 100%. They're going to get offensive because there's guilt inside.
But so here's the other thing too. Majority of the people, if you sit down and have a conversation with them and explain to them, they're likely going to change their views on it. And they'll understand that, you know what, you're right. At the end of the day, it's not. The people that we see that you have the biggest issue with in terms of like accepting that fact that it's wrong is the people with a platform in the name of Islam, like the influencers and everyone, right? Who want to showcase their life or whatever, which fine, I get that. That's your career or whatever. That's the path you want to take. That's great for you. However, if you're claiming to be Muslim, that's your identity, number one. Two is you got to understand that there's hundreds, if not thousands, if not millions of people looking at you. So if you do something, all of those people are going to be like, oh, so-and-so did this, so it's okay now for me to do this.
You justified their means.
You justified it. Yes, you may be struggling with your faith, or you may have done something unknowingly which was wrong. But the problem is the rest of the audience that's viewing you doesn't know that. Right? And it only takes one bad apple to spoil the whole, spoil everyone. 100%. If you have 1,000 good apples, but only one has a blemish on it, everyone's going to look at that one that has a blemish, not the rest of them that have no blemishes.
Like the ugly duckling.
Exactly, right? So it's, and they're the ones who get, excuse my language, they get butthurt the most.
Yeah.
Right? They get very, upset. Oh, you're judging me, or you don't know what it's like, and this, that, and the other. Well, if you aren't ready for this lifestyle, to have the camera on you 24/7 to be held accountable for it, you're not ready to be up there.
Can I throw something out?
Go ahead.
Do you believe, since the last episode, do you believe that these influencers are part of that agenda being pushed? And they're part of the secret society and stuff, and that these influencers, because first of all, they're not alims. You should have a hijabi coming on there who doesn't know a lick of the Quran and can't read the Quran, can't do anything, and you're being a influencer for how to wear an abaya. It doesn't make sense. It's hypocrisy. Do you believe that these people are pushed out there, meaning their stuff comes up on your feed and their stuff is being pushed out to you and you're getting easy access to it? But then when a alim ad-din, a scholar of the religion, tries to put out a video, they're being silenced. Do you agree?
It's being filtered, yes, and I agree 100%. Right? The influencers, it's similar to what Hafiz said on the last episode of Puppet Master just pulling the strings. Your strings stopped working, or we have no need for you, or your story's played out too long, or you've done something wrong against us. Time for a new season, time for a new main star, right? Time for a new main character. And you've seen that actually happen in the past with previous celebrities and such like that. You see them get to a specific peak, falling off, you never seen them again.
Look, at the end of the day, whoever's at that top of that corporation, they want to cater to everyone. So they need different puppets, or they need different people to fill those roles. So obviously they see the Muslim market, we can target that. So we need someone that is going to be quiet in terms of talking about the religion. Maybe they may be wearing it up here, on the outside, but they're not really that on the inside.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
And so yes, and the sad thing is a lot of these Muslim people may not even know they're falling, victim to that.
Right.
Right? And then it's their agenda that gets pushed down.
There's a famous soccer player that fell for this. I don't think he fell for it. I think he did it on his own. Want to touch on that? This is where it all stemmed from. I mean, at least for me, that, oh, look who put up a Christmas tree, and it went viral. He's not stupid. And I don't believe anybody really is stupid, but I think he knew. He's a famous soccer player. He plays for Liverpool, right? He's an Egyptian soccer player. He's well known around the world, millions of followers, we would say, yes? And he putting up that tree and taking a picture was detrimental to Muslim identity, I believe. Would you agree?
Of course. And here's the thing. So let's say morally he disagrees with it, or he didn't even know he was blindsided by it, just for conversation's sake. It was his PR person, his marketing manager, all these people knew, and they wanted him to do this. Why? So that it can show that, one, even though he has a Muslim identity, they're very tolerant, they're very accepting, and then they can get other fans who are not just Muslim. They can target the other markets that they have, or the other fan base that that they're trying to get. Because at the end of the day, it's a numbers game. The more jerseys he sells, the more gear he sells with his name on it, the more money everyone else makes.
Yeah.
Right? So he's being used as a puppet, right? And sad to say that it might not have been his agenda, but he is part of the agenda.
What would be your message, Hafiz, Bilal, to these people with a so to speak platform, whether on social media and or YouTube channels, so on and so forth, that are Muslim but are using their platform in a misguiding way? What would you say to people who follow these people, and what would you say to the people who are the influencers, so to speak, influencers?
One is seek knowledge, or have someone in your environment with knowledge, right, that can support you and benefit you in that aspect. In the case that you have done something wrong, rectify it, right? The same way you created a post to supposedly shoot that wrong thing or show off that wrong thing, you can create a post to reverse it, right? And for those influencers that don't have the knowledge, right, and they're not qualified to be speaking about deen or on specific matters, refrain from doing so, right? All you're doing is harming the public and harming your audience, because you've seen these instances where you've had people who have a platform who don't have the knowledge, but they want to, maybe they said something with good intent or with a good idea behind it, but what they said actually was the opposite, or they said something against the religion, right?
Because see, here's the thing now.
Can I say something just before you?
Yeah.
If you're a Muslim and you have a platform and you're not qualified to give advice, my number one thing is, one, go learn, two, get into therapy. There's a reason why I say this, and I say this. I said all these people that need social media, they need attention.
Yeah.
You were not given that attention as a child. I'm sorry to say. You have mommy and daddy issues, which you need to resolve first, and then, get out there. Because the fact that you don't get attention, or you have to interact with, you need to have a certain quota of comments or views or whatever, tells me very clearly you have attention issues and you were not given that as a child. Your parents neglected you, or whoever neglected you, and you have that void, and this makes you, feel...
And no. In that insanity, or in that level of doing what they're doing, we spoke about this earlier.
Yeah.
How many people do we know that in that craze of social media will forget basic aspects of the deen? Basic etiquettes of the deen,
100%.
just to get that sort of attention, just to show what they're doing,
Yeah.
right? Or to do something that's not even a part of the deen.
Right.
They just forget,
Look,
or they lose track.
I'll be honest with you. It's in the early, I would say, late 80s, early 90s. I'm calling on my age here. Late 80s, early 90s. Crack cocaine was the big thing. Mid 90s to early 2000s, heroin, angel dust, ecstasy was the big thing. 21st century, it's social media. It's the biggest addiction people have. I have students who say to me, I gotta check my socials. Why? Can your socials wait? Like, I get it. And I don't know, okay? And I'll be honest with you. In the last couple days when I was home, and I was like, I tried to occupy myself in social media. I was disgusted. I didn't want to. You know what I mean? I have better things to do. You know, whether it's curriculum stuff for the madrasa, whether it's work stuff, whatever the case may be. I don't find it entertaining. To Hafiz's point, one, if you need attention, we did an episode, season 1 with Kulsum Khan. Go back to that one.
Mental health.
Yeah, mental health. Go see her. She'll hook you up. She's great, by the way. But I also believe that you need help in that regard if you're a social. But if you're addicted to social media and you're constantly being on social media, it goes back to, I don't really blame them, one, because it's getting shoved. Because I remember the days where cell phone, you didn't get internet. And internet, when we had it at home, was through a phone line. And you had to download AOL, right? And as soon as somebody picked up the phone to call somebody out or whatever, your internet disconnected. I remember from those times. It was back in the day where you read a newspaper or read a book or so on and so forth, and you get your news, whether on the TV channel or that. But meaning to say, if you're on social media trying to get your deen from social media or trying to find yourself, you cannot find it on social media because those people are meant, if they knew it, then they wouldn't be on social media trying to get attention from people, to Hafiz's point. Because at the end of the day, you can look at the person who Cristiano Ronaldo, I think he has the most followers on Instagram in the world, if I'm not mistaken. I'm just putting that out there. And he has how many hundreds of millions of people? Tell me if he knows more than 100 of them.
Mm-hmm. Even 1,000 at most.
Yeah, or 1,000. You're paying. You're making him rich.
I want to touch back on
He's using
what
you
I
as
said
a
at
crack addict.
I want to touch back on what I said at the start.
You're a junkie.
It's an idea that's pushing mediocrity and keeping people average and keeping their senses dulled, right?
Here's the other thing. It creates a false perception of reality. And this is my message, one, to the influencers first. That you as influencers show all the good sides of life, and you guys get to live a privileged life that majority of people don't live. So first of all, you're setting false hopes to people to say everyone is going to be able to achieve this. Unfortunately, that is not the case. Okay. Number two is that when you're using your platform, and to all my people that are actually viewers of these influencers, your life, don't use that influencer's life as an example for your life. Right? It breaks marriages, it breaks relationships, it traumatizes homes and individuals, and that's what it does. For example, a couple, like a wife might be always on social media, and she sees, a certain influencer or whatever got his wife flowers or this, that, and took her on vacation, this, that, and then she subconsciously starts to have that false perception that, you know what, my husband's lacking, he's not doing anything. Right. When she doesn't realize that man goes out 8 to 10 hours a day, he works hard, tries to get an honest earning and, put food and a roof over your head, right? He doesn't have sponsorships like your influencer, or, doesn't get, paid trips to take whoever he wants to vacation. I'm pretty sure if he had the money, he would be able to. Agreed. But you are creating these false senses of what reality or what a relationship should be like, or what a dynamic for a human being in terms of all the other people around them should be like. Right. And you're brainwashing people.
Mm-hmm. And social media is the biggest distraction too, right? Yeah. You mentioned that you tried spending time and you found it disgusting, right? We find it the same way because we don't see social media as other people see it, right? It's their distraction, it's their escapism, so to say, right? And they're using that as a means to spend their time, and that's what their priorities are. You, in that time where you're not engrossed in social media, what are you doing? You have other things to do. You're getting on with your life. Yeah. These people don't see it the same way. Right. And that's a sort of distinction that people need to wake up to, is that social media is just a distraction.
Right. This next one's going to ruffle feathers. So here's another trend, apart from the holidays and celebrating the holidays. Year in review from Spotify. So a lot of people everywhere, towards the end of the year, Spotify or whatever music streaming service that you use gives you kind of a year in review of what you've listened to the most, right? And everyone will share that on social media.
Mine's mic'd up. We're on Spotify. So follow us on Spotify.
So here's the thing. So I have seen, for every Muslim person on social media that I have seen, I don't see no Surah Baqarah, Surah Fatiha, none of that, no Islamic podcast, none of this. But I will see a Drake, a Jay-Z, whoever it is, whoever the new artists are or whatever, and hundreds of hours, minutes of listening. Right. And my thing is, You know all these song lyrics and everything like that, but how many surahs or verses do you know? Right? And then you say, oh, I learned it when I was little, but I forgot it. Well, yeah, you're going to forget it if you don't revise it. But, what are you trying to show people? That, hey, I wasted this many hours, this many minutes, this many seconds of my life listening to Drake, for example. Right? Where I could have done so many other things. I could have made money in that moment.
I got a job.
Right? I could have hustled, yeah. But so that's the thing. It's like we're falling to these trends to fit in. And it's like we don't even realize how badly we've been hurt and how negatively it affects you.
Right.
And you need to step back and hold yourself accountable. This is why they say hasibu qabla an tuhasabakum. That be accountable. If not, you will be held accountable.
Of course.
Right. And it's too late when you're held accountable.
Right.
So you'd rather do a fact check yourself now, hold yourself accountable, and see where your life is. And it's as simple as spending 10 minutes before you go to sleep.
Yeah.
Right. What did you do good today? What did you do bad today? How can you improve? How is your relationship with your Lord? How is your relationship with your parents, your friends, so on and so forth?
Right.
And it's very simple things, right? But again, everyone seems to be falling a puppet to the system.
Right.
They want their strings pulled. And no one wants to be a leader anymore. Everyone wants to be a follower.
Going back to what you said earlier about the people who benefit the most from the holiday season, it's not the churches and so on and so forth. I 100% agree, because if you look at how they implemented Black Friday, Black Friday came and then everybody goes in. We don't have money, Muslims I'm talking about, right? So we don't have money to give during Jumu'ah collections, or the masjid needs a renovation, or we want to do something in the masjid, or there's an initiative happening in the masjid, campaign or whatever. We don't have money for that, but I can go and spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on Black Friday to get a deal. And then systematically, because that happens, if I'm not mistaken, end of October. And then it goes right into all of November and the season starts. And then Christmas Day comes in. So leading all to up into there, you're going to the mall. You're seeing extended hours. You're seeing sales, discounted sales and this and that. And then what happens after Christmas, you think it's over. It's actually not, because then you have Boxing Week and then you go and spend money. I am blown away about how many people, Muslims, rush 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning for the Boxing Week sale. You know what I say? If you can't afford it when it's regular price, and you don't need it when it's on sale. That's just my point. I mean, you will not catch me dead Boxing Day shopping. I'm not saying, and this is not a fatwa, I'm not saying don't go shopping on Boxing Week. I'm saying don't make it a custom that it has overtaken your life to the point where you have forgotten where your money should be going. And I think Hafiz, many seasons ago, or 2 seasons ago, he goes, how do you differentiate between a want and a need? And if it's a want, then you need to push that to the side. If it's a need, it's a different story, right? But that's the other thing. We've been accustomed to this holiday shopping season and so on and so forth. And you see it. Our people are accustomed to it. Oh, no, we'll wait a week. Boxing Week.
Can I give you another spin on that?
Yeah.
Do religions provide a way in determining how you spend your money? Yes.
100%.
Right? For example, Islam, spend on what you need, your hajat, give to charity, give your zakat for the year. Every religion has its own thing. You're a fool if you don't think secularism is a religion. Secularism is a product of a modern spin on religion, right? How does religion tend to, determine how you need to spend your money? You just mentioned everything, right? Let's create these holidays. Let's add these holidays. Let's create these venues where we need to make sure that people spend their money in this specific way. The same way that you're bound to spend your give your zakat money every year. Same way, we're going to make sure that people spend their money on their Christmas shopping and their Boxing Day and their Black Friday, and let's make sure that there's people know how to spend their money, and let's make sure that they only restrict themselves to that.
Like, think about it. January, okay, you have New Year's, you don't really have anything else. February, you got Valentine's Day, and then all of a sudden they popped in Family Day, and because that Mother's Day, Father's Day, and Family Day, right? So you love your family only in February, and then March there isn't anything. Sometimes Easter. Right, so Easter, there you're spending money and this and that, and you know who's benefiting, just like Hafiz Yahya said. And then you go into April, which is the same Easter season. May, you got Mother's Day. June, you got Father's Day. July, you got Canada Day. May, you also got May 2-4, and you're celebrating a queen who died already, and we're not part of Britain, and so I don't understand that one. And then you got August, you got Civic Day in Caravana here in Toronto, which is the den of the devil's breath. And then you go into September, you got Labor Day, right? And that's the end of being back to school, which is another huge shopping platform and people for them to make money.
Well, you can give the pass on that one for necessities, sure.
Yeah.
But all the other ones, yeah, you're right.
But October, you go to Halloween.
Exactly.
Which is a gong show. And then we get back into the Christmas season.
So here's the thing. And
you got then I can rhyme that off. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Think about it. It's in your mind, right? So they've injected it. Sorry, go ahead.
Look, you have to step back and take a look at the bigger picture. Okay? The retail world wants you to buy things, but they need to be able to come up with an attractive offer to be able to get you in there. First, it only used to be a handful of days throughout the year. Now there's something once every month. Yeah. Right? And now here's the thing. When we do Boxing Day or just before Christmas for the holidays, they do that, one, to get rid of inventory so they can stock up for the new year. Right? That's what it is. But people are so like, oh, I'm getting the latest and greatest. No, you're getting last year's stuff.
Oh, 100%.
Right? And you're not getting it discounted. What they did is just before the holiday seasons, they marked it up 10% and then slashed it by 10% to show you that, hey, no, you got a deal. That's not the case. Right? A lot of people are realizing this now when they saw like Black Friday deals and stuff like that. They're like, hey, 2 weeks ago this was like the same price or it was cheaper, right? And why the price go up all of a sudden? Right. So it's a marketing tactic, right? Yeah, if there's a need for you and you see a good deal, that's fine, but it doesn't mean you religiously have to shop on these days to be able to get a good deal.
100%.
Right? And here's the other thing, okay? A lot of people will go to the big box stores, but you're not going to go to the mom and pop shops. The actual people that live beside you that, have houses, have bills and stuff to pay, right? Why don't you support your local mom and pop shops too? Right? It doesn't hurt to give them a little bit of business.
100%.
Right? 100%. But you'll happily pay twice the price at a big name store. Yeah. Right? So, you're being brainwashed to come into those big box stores and buy what they want to sell you. And then, you're doing it, you're rinsing and repeating basically. Right. And they win in this scenario. They get to win. They make money off you. At this point, it's pretty much like a subscription. Yeah. At least once a year, they're guaranteed to make some sort of money off of you.
100%. Hafiz, Bilal, can I have, I guess from an Islamic standpoint, let's just talk there. Because we're going to go back to what we were kind of initiating the conversation from was, can I have a New Year's resolution? Is it okay in Islam for me to have a New Year's resolution? Just for myself, not broadcasting and this and that. I'm talking about the layman and woman who's going to be watching. Can I have a New Year's resolution? Is it okay if I just do it and say, okay, it's not a New Year's resolution. It's a permanent fix. Starting January 1st, this is what I'm going to do.
If anything, you should be proactively doing that all the time, right? It shouldn't be limited to New Year's resolution. Right. You should always have a resolution to improve and change yourself. Right? Just Islam always advises that you improve yourself, whether it's in your character, whether it's in your day-to-day life, whether it's in your iman, whether it's in your prayer or your ibadah. Improve yourself, work on yourself, right? And to make sure that you can actually change on your resolutions that you create yourself, one, make them realistic, right? Don't make a goal that it's super far to achieve, right? Or, dumb down the goal a bit. If your goal now is to start praying 5 times a day tomorrow, start with 2 prayers a day. Start with 1 prayer a day. It takes, I think it's 21 days to build a habit. Start there. Just start small and start improving. And day by day, you're going to see yourself getting better. And the choices you make today aren't only affecting yourself today. The choices you make today are for you and your future. Right? People say, hey, you know what? I'm just resting. Let me get a rest day. Brother, you've been resting all your life. Yeah. Right? You don't need another rest day to start implementing change.
100%.
Right?
You know what? And one of the biggest things is that this has a very big effect on our children. And I think we don't really talk about the kids too much. I know, inshallah, one day, Allah Ta'ala aapko 12 bache naseeb farmaye. Feel bad for your wife about that one, but regardless, meaning when you have your children of your own, inshallah, one day, you'll see that because we're worried. Like I think my parents and I think your parents were worried for you to a certain degree because society back 20, 25 years ago was not the same. A lot have changed in evolution and so on. So people have evolved, technology has evolved, so on and so forth. But what do you see if the custom now is as bad as we're talking about? Muslims celebrating Christmas, Muslims going into the fact that we're becoming more worldly and secular, we're becoming more westernized and liberal, so on and so forth. What do you see in Islamic families in the next 10, 15 years?
The problem is that it's going to become exponential. And I'll tell you, so let's say it's one household today.
Right.
20 years, it'll be 2 households. In another 20 years, it'll be 4. Like that, it's going to exponentially increase to the point where you're just going to saturate everyone.
Right.
Right? And then you're going to cause more division. That's the other thing.
Right.
Right? But this is not just a problem of the people that are actually celebrating it. It's a problem with the community leaders, the ulama, the masajids, anyone that works in the Muslim space or the sector. We need to collectively tell people what our views are about certain things.
Right.
Right? We don't stop the people that celebrate the holidays from celebrating them. That's not our mission. It's to make sure that the Muslims know where they stand and to not just easily, basically try to have or accept, become acceptable, or sorry, have acceptance of it.
Right.
Into, they're basically, they're going to take from here, and then eventually, you know what? Their religion is no longer Islam, it's something else. Right? And so that's the thing we need to kind of eliminate. Otherwise, like I said, it's just going to be exponential. It's just going to keep increasing to the point where now everyone's going to do it and it's going to be, no problem. Right?
I think that's what the agenda is, right? To make it normal. Hafiz, Bilal.
Just like Hafiz said, it's going to be an exponential increase in what you're seeing today in terms of going down that slippery slope like I was mentioning earlier. Right? But you also have the case where the Prophet ﷺ said, Bada al-Islamu ghariban. Islam started as something strange, gharib. And it's going to return to that before the end of times, right? Iman is going to be like what? Hot coals in your hand, right? So you might say, hey, some of this is already predetermined. We might as well live up to it. No. You're creating a paradox, and it's a stupid idea to do it, going around like that,
100%.
Right? You're accountable, and you're obliged to do what you're supposed to do, and just make sure you stick to that.
I'm going to add on one last thing to say there. As a Muslim, we all say, Amantu billah wa malaikati wa kutubi wa rusuli. You said you believe in Allah, His malaika, His messengers, His books. If you say that, now it is compulsory upon you to understand what's in His book. And that means you have to go and search for knowledge. Right. 99% of the issues that we face can be eliminated if everyone just sought the knowledge that we were required to seek in the first place.
Right.
It's the lack of knowledge where you have deviance and where you have divergence from the religion and you have these new ideologies and hypocrisies that come to light, right? Islam from day one has faced challenges. It's always faced challenges and it will continue to face challenges. But it's how the people that were responsible at the time rose up to that and actually combated that challenge. Right? So it's incumbent not just upon the people that are victim, because they might not even know they're victim, but the community leaders, the ulama, all the people that are in charge, that have a face, they have a name, and have a say. They all need to come together. We need to educate our masses. Right? We're not going to be seen as ignorant or intolerant. Just because we don't celebrate, we're not stopping anyone from doing it. But you need to understand your own beliefs and your own ideas and morals and values first,
right,
in order for you to, properly say you're a Muslim.
Right. And I think the more you get accustomed to the festivities of the West, you tend to start to do things like them because you're adapting. It starts with, hey, Merry Christmas to you too. Then it'll say, hey, Happy New Year to you too. Right? Hey, Happy Easter, so on and so forth. Happy Halloween. And you start, and then it starts to become, I say it, and let me just put up a couple decorations, and let me give out candy, and so on and so forth. Let me dress up my kids for Halloween. And then it starts to be, once you have adopted that, and I think lingo is a big part. For example, when you have kids, whether in the madrasa or your own children, and you start to say things and you correct them, right? They come into the masjid. What's the first thing they say to us? Assalamu alaikum, right? Or they try. And if it's wrong, we say, break it down to them. Assalamu alaikum, right? And we've seen that, right? And we don't let go of their hands until they say it correctly. So then they come back and then they slow it down the way that we taught it to them. And you see improvement. Lingo is very big, right? And he says, how are you doing? Good. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. And then you see that next time you see them, hey, how are you doing?
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, rather than good. So I think that plays a big part. Going to my point, and can I use this terminology? Merry Christmas, Happy Easter, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa. Can I say these things as a Muslim? Should I be saying it, one, and can I say it, two?
No. And the reason why is because you're going to contradict your own beliefs.
Right.
If you're saying Merry Christmas, which means happy celebration of the birth of Christ, first of all, it's not the same Jesus that you and I believe in, right? They believe that Jesus was a son of God. So you're saying it's okay for you to believe in someone that is a son of God, then that person was apparently sacrificed or what's the word I'm looking for? Crucified, sorry. Thank you. Crucified on the cross for everyone's sins. Right? You're saying, okay, it's okay to you're saying it's okay and have a happy celebration celebrating that individual who, one, that account doesn't even exist. And two, you're saying it's okay for someone to be committing shirk. And I'm gonna congratulate you on that. Right? So
a lot of people don't think about it like that. That's a very good point.
But this is the thing. When you say something, it holds meaning.
Yeah.
Right? And so you have to be, cautionary of what you're saying.
Right. Absolutely.
Right? The same thing is like, for example, why don't you go to the non-Muslim and say Assalamu alaikum?
Why do you say hello, good morning, how are you,
exactly, right?
And
it's not. Listen, they're not going to get offended if you don't say Merry Christmas back,
no,
right? Or Happy Hanukkah or whatever.
Can you change? What would you say in somebody comes up to you, hey, Muhammad? And that's weird me saying this to you, but hey, Yahya, Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.
Yeah, say Happy Holidays.
There you go.
Right?
It's that easy, folks.
Because it's the holiday season.
Yeah.
Right? I don't celebrate Christmas. Okay, if you are, that's great for you. But I don't believe in Christmas in that sense. Right? I don't believe a man. I don't believe God had a son and that son came to this earth and then that was crucified on a cross. Right? It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Right?
And then rose after 3 days.
Exactly.
Hafiz Bilal.
Yes.
Should I be partaking in the lingo, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, right, and all the other holidays? Should I be saying these things? Morally, should I be saying these things? Hafiz Yahya mentioned the Islamic aspect.
No, on the same baseline. You don't accept it.
You pick up bad behavior, right?
Exactly. And then what's the point of saying something if you don't believe it?
Yeah, true.
Then you've made yourself a hypocrite.
100%.
So you can't have it both ways.
100%.
You can't on one hand say it and then accept it for what it is, and you can't also on the second hand say it say it and not believe in what you're saying.
They just loosely say these things, right?
Yeah.
Because I guess and I go back to this one. I'll go to you, Hafiz Yahya. Is that I just find that it's a disconnect with your deen for that to even come out. You get what I mean? And I think a lot of it has to come off. If you're loosely, someone just turns around on a dime and just says, hey, Merry Christmas, Bilal. And you go, yeah, Merry Christmas to you too, bud. And I find if you can openly quickly dish that out, that means you're not connected with your deen. I just feel that because deen is not on the zuban. Deen is from the inside, from the heart, what you guys have been talking about with the spiritual aspect. Anyways. Hafiz.
First of all, there's ikhtilaf within the Christians themselves as to whether or not that was the birth date of Christ.
100%.
Okay. Secondly, is that, look, if you can find me one example of the Prophet ﷺ saying to any of the other religions that were around at his time that happy celebration of whatever day they celebrated, by all means, I'll start saying it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right? But you won't find that. There's tolerance and there's respect. But then do not try to, accumulate yourself into them or amalgamate yourself into them, right? Don't try to, put the two bubbles together. Right. Doesn't work.
It's just like when the time of Muharram and the Jews were fasting on the...
If anything, the Prophet differentiated.
Yeah, he says, no, we fast the 9th and the 10th, or the 8th and the 9th, because Sayyidina Musa is more close to us.
Yeah.
Right? So he actually made a differentiation between the Jews of Medina at the time and the Muslims and what we should be doing in the month of Muharram, right? So as an example for all those liberalists and Muslims, and only God can judge me.
One last thing.
Yeah.
I wanna shout out Amr Qadri Sahab. Christmas is also very, very environmentally unfriendly. You're chopping down those trees. So environmentalists, where are you? Number one, all that gift wrapping, all the boxes, all that stuff. Where are you guys? Where's
David Suzuki?
Yeah, with David Suzuki people, where are you? Where are the tree huggers, right? Where are you folks? Right? If you have a cry, that this is gonna destroy our planet. Why aren't you active right now? Why aren't you outside? Whatever big box store, Walmart or whatever, protesting that?
Because they're making money off
Exactly.
of it too. Yeah.
Right?
It's all a money thing. It's under. You know what? It goes back to the conspiracy thing again, right? And it's true, but that people, when it's important and it's not beneficial for you, you're gonna speak out. But when it's for your benefit, you're not gonna talk. Those tree huggers, lighting campfires and eating vegan hot dogs. Anyways, I think that was another great episode. New Year, New Me. Obviously we want to give a final message to everybody watching in regards to what they can take from what we have talked about and sum it all up. You can always rewatch it and refresh and rewatch. But what would be your message as a final word in regards to what we discussed today?
Simple. Learn your deen, learn what your identity is, learn what your morals and your values are, and that only comes through education, right? That's why we say Islam was never spread with a sword. It was spread with the pen, right? Because the first commandment was to read. So pick up the Quran and study it properly with a teacher, right? Gain proper knowledge. And if you can't, or if you don't have the time, to ask for resources that can, that can fit to your schedule. If you're so busy that you don't have a single minute of the day to sit with an imam or go to madrasa or whatever, ask for a video or something, ask for an audio, ask for a book that you can read, right? But if you're not going to go and, try to at least take that first step, no one can help you. You're inevitably doomed in that sense, right? So you need to educate and understand the difference between integration and, fully just selling yourself out, right? Islam integrates into every society perfectly
100%.
fine. But it does not say lose yourself when you integrate, because that's not an integration. Integration can have two different bodies and they can work well with each other, but it doesn't mean the two now become together like this. Right? So don't amalgamate and don't try to become, two things don't try to make it a synergistic thing, and don't try to become something that isn't supposed to be there in the first place. There's a reason why two things are different, and you leave them, you integrate, and that's it.
Don't include into what isn't. Right.
100%.
And I'll touch on the resolution aspect and the people, wanting to change.
You do that, 416-265-5005. Madrasa, if we have online as well. We have adult classes, we have Fardul Lube classes, we have Saturday classes, we have Sunday adult classes. We can cover you Monday to Sunday. It's if you want to come in. Hafiz Bilal teaches. Hafiz Yahya is behind the scenes. He's too good for us to teach. But 416-265-5005. Madrasa, we can put you in there. Look, we're giving you a solution. Hafiz Yahya spoke about something. We're giving you a solution. You have adult classes. You have teenage classes, so on and so forth. You can learn anything. There's no escaping it, is what I'm saying.
If you're thirsty, the water's not going to come to you. You have to go to the water. Yeah. You're not some...
Yeah. You have to go to knowledge. Knowledge doesn't come to you.
100%.
Right. And again, just the last points on, the changes aspect. Start with little things. One, hold yourself accountable, right? Make sure you're doing what you've set yourself out to do. And in terms of what you've set yourself out to do, stop thinking in your imagination. Come back to a level of reality. Stop saying I wish, I want to, or I will. Start with today and I am, right? Because tomorrow is never guaranteed, right? Just start there. And if you're thinking about, developing and building your relationship back with your Creator, start with this something very simple here. Ana inda dhanni abdi bi. I am as my servant sees me or thinks of me.
Of course.
Right? And if you, na'udhu billah, belittle your what you sort of think of Allah and how you sort of represent Him in your life, then it's going to be the same way.
Right.
When you start to broaden and actually, build that relationship, develop that relationship with your Lord, then it starts to reflect accordingly.
I have a New Year's resolution. I'm going to end with this. Is that I pray that New Year's resolution is a means to better yourself every day, not just on January 1st of the new year. And I believe that if you set a goal and a target, it should not be resulted to January 1st. But I also believe that New Year's, that I would like the Muslim world to treat New Year's as the first of Muharram, which is also the wisal of the great caliph. First of Muharram. Anyways,
Sayyidina Omar, no?
First
Yeah.
of Muharram.
Yeah.
Yes, Sayyidina Omar's wisal. And I got mistaken up with the first of Ramadan. But first is also there. But meaning, holding Muharram, meaning the Hijrah calendar, which is the Prophet ﷺ's calendar, and using that as a means of celebrating something. I mean, then it would make more sense. I mean, it would be a bid'ah, but it would make more sense. Anyways, you have something to say, Hafiz?
The only time, and I'm going to say this, that you can have a New Year's resolution that I would consider okay is to save on taxes for the upcoming year. Because fiscal year usually starts January 1st, right? And you and I know this conversation.
Listen, we're going to do a podcast on that one. And you're going to see, people are going to see me crying.
Right? So that, that is something understandable. It follows the Gregorian calendar, which is understandable. But, for example, I'll give you myself personally. Like, I plan my, in this case, the tax strategy and the fiscal strategy a few months before New Year's even happens, but it takes into effect from New Year because that's the time that it goes into effect, right? So that's, a reasonable and an okay example. But if your any other goal is like, I want to lose weight, or I want to do this, or I want to, improve my relationship with my creator, don't wait till January 1st. Start in small steps today.
MashaAllah. Jazakallah, brothers. And pleasure is all mine. And I will take that. I appreciate you guys coming out once again, and I think it was definitely beneficial. And if you think that it wasn't and you still have some doubts, feel free to hit the comment and put it in there. We'll respond to you. We'll talk to you. We're not scary monsters. Some of us can be, but we'll be there to support and shed some light if it needs to be done further.
If you feel that we're talking too cutthroat or too, tough love, it's not the case. We're just trying to be very literal with you because we're not going to sugarcoat things, right? When we start sugarcoating, then we can start painting a false picture in people's minds. And so we don't want to do that. We're just telling you as it is, as your brothers, and that's what you should take. It's not, if you feel that it's harsh, it's not harsh. It's just the reality of the matter and the situation.
100%.
Right?
100%. So, Jazakallah once again. We're going to conclude here. It was a great episode, and I think a lot of people are going to benefit from it, and I pray everybody does. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Jazakallah to everyone who's been constantly messaging, constantly viewing, but make sure that you are subscribed and you have hit the bell icon on the YouTube channel, Mic'd Up 416. We appreciate the love and support as always, and another shout out as we conclude to Haramain Studios. Jazakallah to Asif Bhai and the entire team for letting us use this platform and the studio for season 3. Until the next episode, we will see you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.